It's producer Mark, and don't forget to download Sunday Sharps. You can go to Apple, Spotify, KCMOTalkRadio.com, wherever you get your podcasts. I've been hosting it all NFL season, and now we're down to two teams. It's the Chiefs, it's the Eagles. Last week on the show, talked about how both those teams got there, and this weekend we'll be talking about who will stand on top of the podium at the end of the game holding the trophy. Super Bowl LIX, Chiefs, Eagles, get some prop bets as well. It's Sunday Sharps on KCMO Talk Radio.
Well done there, Mark. Very nice job. 6:05 on a Wednesday morning across an icy Kansas City. Be careful on the roads. It's not like it was during that big ice storm a month ago, but it is dicey out there. There are road closures all over the metro, and there are school closures as well that are now starting to pop up. Just to give you some information on that front as we get the show started. Atchison closed. Olathe is on a 2-hour delay. On the Missouri side, Independence closed. Lee Summit closed. Liberty, Kearney, Raytown, and Blue Springs doing virtual learning. And also closed Cameron, Oak Grove, and Odessa. So this is not something to mess with. It's not awful, but don't be a hero out there. And if you're John Anthony, you have to take the back roads to work today.
Well, I would say it might be a little bit worse in my guesstimation from the last one. The last one, we knew what was coming, and this one is all piling up right now. And so things are closed because people are out there, and it's just like cattle. It's like leaving Arrowhead after a game. And so anybody now trying to go to work is going to find the people that were supposed to be at work are still out there.
Yes.
So that's kind of what's going on out there. I come from Grandview, North 49, go to westbound 435, couldn't get off. Again, I'm like saying, this looks like Arrowhead.
That's crazy.
For some reason, though, all tractor trailers had their hazards on, but some of them were still moving. So it's real confusing on your depth perception. That's part of it. It's kind of slick out there, but they're closed. So I had to kind of go north up to 95th Street on Bannister and go parallel. Got back on at Warnell, and nobody's coming up my you-know-what up the rear from the east because 470's closed around there at 49. It's a mess.
It is. So you want to be careful, be smart. It seems like the further north you go, the worse it is with this ice. So take your time. Take your time if you have to be out. But understand that, this one we knew about it, but it did kind of sneak up on us, to your point, John. There wasn't a ton of stay in, ice storm coming. It's not really an ice storm, but there is definitely ice on the roads today.
Well, if you have an afternoon tea time, you might be all right. It's supposed to warm up a little bit and turn to rain. So
that's why you're getting some of these
going to come down for a couple of hours.
Delayed openings, or what you're seeing on the Kansas side
those
right
should be
now.
Rolling in as we speak.
Yep. So we'll update you this morning here on KCMO Talk Radio as we get it going on a Wednesday morning. Glad you're here with us. Of course, the Super Bowl is all of 4 days away. And I'm thrilled to share the news with you that, less than a month into being in office, Donald Trump has ended racism.
Such a nice man.
That's right. Donald Trump has ended racism. You will no longer see, for the first time since pre-2020 and the stupidity that year brought with it, the words "end racism" etched into the end zone. You won't see it anymore. The NFL is not doing that this year. Now, this was always going to be mildly controversial whenever it happened, right? Because the minute that you put something like "end racism" into your end zone, how do you get rid of it? You're saying to the American people, boy, you really are just a bunch of racists. Now, the NFL is so powerful, people ignored it, right? The NFL is America's most popular sport right now by a wide margin. So most people see those dopey signs in the end zone and they roll their eyes. But the NFL finally woke up and said, we are not going to do this anymore. And the news broke yesterday from The Athletic. And I admit, I didn't think it was going to happen that quickly. But it's impossible to not tie this back to what happened on November 5th. You can't look at the NFL's decision and not come to the obvious conclusion that America overwhelmingly electing Donald Trump in the Electoral College and the popular vote and handing Republicans the Senate and giving them the House was not a moment in the corporate HQ of the NFL with Roger Goodell Well, they said to themselves, maybe people don't want this garbage anymore. Maybe people don't want to be told that they're racist. Maybe they just want to wake up and live a decent life and try to hustle and save some money for their family and, retire one day. And they don't look at themselves in the mirror and say, gosh, I really need to atone for my white guilt this morning. Boy, I hope I don't do anything racist today. Because guess what? America is not a racist country. Are there racist people in America? Sure. Yeah, there are. And there are racist people of every color in America. Because racism, theoretically, does see color. That's the point of it. But being a racist does not require you to be of a certain color. So this is a massive win for common sense. And when I saw the story yesterday, at first I'm like, this has to be a parody. Someone's got to be yanking my chain. Someone's got to be screwing with me here on this. And it wasn't the case. I just didn't believe the NFL would be so blatant about it to literally do it in the first Super Bowl after Trump gets back in the White House. Is this the biggest thing in the world? No, but it does mean something. It does. It is something that just as an American citizen and an American voter, I've been so sick of seeing in the end zone of football games. But listen, I haven't boycotted the NFL because I love the sport. And we love our team in Kansas City. And that was not enough for me to say, you know what, I'm not watching. It was just one of those eye roll, goofy things you'd see that eventually you became numb to, right? Eventually you just saw and you rolled your eyes and you moved on. But now the NFL is saying to themselves, we are dropping it. They will have the it takes all of us in the end zone, but that's it.
Yeah, I guess for me, I watch a lot of football and I don't even recognize it's there anymore.
Yes.
So I probably won't recognize that it's gone, but I know that there will be articles written about it.
There will be. And I'm waiting for the pieces, and I haven't seen them yet. And maybe because it's only been 18 hours, they haven't dropped yet. But there wasn't the outrage. I don't know about you, Mark, but I didn't see as much outrage on social media as I thought I was going to see on this, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I thought it was going to be lefties melt down on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. Oh, you can't do this.
How dare you?
Oh, Roger Goodell, we won't stand for this. Racism is alive and well. But that didn't happen.
I feel like I might be misremembering this, but Patrick Mahomes, I think, said the "it takes all of us" line in that Black Lives Matter commercial or whatever it was.
Oh, that they dropped back in 2020?
Yeah, a long time ago. But
yeah.
I think he said the phrase that they're keeping.
It takes all of us?
It takes all of us,
I mean, that's whatever. That's fine. I mean, if you want to have some hokey, feel-good line in the end zone, whatever. You're not changing anything. None of this changed anything for anybody. It was all just a move to be in the moment and be like, we got to do something. What do we do? I know we'll end racism in the end zone. Okay, I guess, sure.
As we're sitting here talking about it, Fox 4 just dropped a little article on it.
Oh, did they? Did they? Well, tell me if they wokeified that thing up, and I'll give it a full report here on KCMO. But this is, all in all, a huge win for common sense. And you're seeing boardrooms around America wake up. You're seeing companies and corporations and businesses wake up. The NFL has awoken to the ridiculousness of the last 4 years. And that is a win for the American people. It is a win for common sense. Speaking of wins, I don't think anybody saw this coming yesterday. Trump does this press conference, wheeling and dealing press conference at about 5 o'clock our time, give or take. And during the press conference, he starts announcing future plans for Gaza, where America's going to take over. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to go to Greenland. I'm going to go to Canada. I'm going to go to Gaza one day, and I'm not going to need a passport for any of them, I guess. I don't know. I mean, this is just too much for me. What does that actually look like, and how realistic is something like this? And what do you think the broader point was here for the President of the United States? We'll share it with you next on 95.7 FM KCMO. 6:19 as we roll through an icy Tuesday morning on Wednesday morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We have school closures and delays happening around Kansas City, so make sure that you are taking it easy if you do have to be out this morning. And just looking at the Scout Cam, I-70 westbound is closed at 31st Street. You got I-35 northbound on the Missouri side closed at 24 Highway. There are closures all over the Kansas City metro. I-70 eastbound on the Kansas side. Going on to 635 southbound, that exit is closed. And I drove right by it this morning. The exit is closed getting on 69 Highway, going on 435 eastbound. So got to take your time. Same thing on the northbound side as well for 69 Highway. It is just a mess out there, and you want to be careful if you have to go out and be out this morning. Now, yesterday, Trump threw a curveball, not just at the American people. Trump threw a curveball at the world. This is something that nobody saw coming. When Donald Trump, in a press conference with Bibi Netanyahu, the Israel prime minister, announced future plans for the Gaza Strip, which, of course, has been destroyed in their ongoing war with Israel. And this was something where I said to myself, okay, pump the brakes. Don't overreact either way. Try to think in Trump terms here to what is actually going on. Here's what he said, and then we'll react.
We'll take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
Well, I'll be booking my stay at Mara Gaza coming up in 2032. How's that sound? You like that? Mark, you can join me. We'll make it a boys' trip. What do you think? A little golf?
The ocean looks nice there.
Yeah.
The beaches look nice there.
Yeah.
If you just go off of just a little bit away from where everything's been bombed out, but yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you've got beautiful beaches there. You can't take that away from them, at least looking from afar, right? And that's where Trump, the businessman, steps in and says, what the heck are we doing here? This place is one of the great hellholes in the country and in the world, and it doesn't need to be that way. Of course, it's a little more complicated than that. Do I think that we are looking at a Mara Gaza in the 2030s? A big old Trump hotel sitting there on the Gaza Strip, little golf, maybe a little 27-hole course, maybe only room for 18, but, we can all dream, right? No, I don't think that's coming to the Gaza Strip. But I think for Trump, he floats these ideas out there, and he throws these things out there against the wall to kind of gauge the reaction, see what people are going to respond with, and get a feel for whether or not this is something specifically when it comes to the Arab countries, raising the stakes on them. Now, I think he's cranking up some of the pressure here as well, basically saying, if these Arab countries won't take in the Palestinians, we are going to remove them ourselves and take control of Gaza. He goes to the extreme in a classic Trump manner. And then what does that do? When he comes back to the middle, it suddenly looks reasonable. These Arab countries are like, well, I guess, yeah, sure. We got some room over here. And trust me, they would all much prefer that to the United States taking over the Gaza Strip. And deep down, I don't think Trump really wants to take over the Gaza Strip. As he noted yesterday, we've got enough problems to deal with here in America. Now, I think he wants a safe world and a safe Middle East, but he's not looking to take control of the Gaza Strip. The amount of effort, money, and manpower that would entail is just too much. But he did specifically talk about having a Gaza Strip where Palestinians can live in part in peace. and having a capitalistic society and culture that is Western and modernized and, beneficial for everybody. That's what he wants. Of course, as long as the place is run by third world terrorists and barbarians, that is very difficult to accomplish. But Hamas at a leadership level has been more or less knocked out by Israel. Israel has done a tremendous job taking out the Hamas leadership. The question is, how does that rebuild start, and what does that rebuild look like? And yes, there has been innocent life lost during this tragic, awful war over the last 18 months. There's no denying it. But at this point, if you're Donald Trump, you have to look at it and say to yourself, what is best for the region? And in the end, I think most importantly, you say to yourself, what is best for America? And that's the prism that it seems like the president is looking through everything at right now. It's all through that lens of what works and what is in the best interests of America. And that's a welcome sight. I mean, instead of Pops sending them, how much did that bridge to nowhere cost? Remember, they built that pier? I guess it was more of a pier off the shores of Gaza. And it cost like tens of millions of dollars, and the thing went absolutely nowhere. Those days are over. And even Joy Reid of MSNBC opened up her show last night in a state of shock, but to her credit, not outrage.
Donald Trump making news in the biggest possible way. I'm going to read you the quotes that I think are stunning to just about everyone who heard them today after a day of calling for the people of Gaza, who he numbered at 1.8 million, to be relocated out of the Gaza Strip. Today, Donald Trump said the following about the Palestinian people. They can instead occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do it, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings. When he was pressed on whether or not he would be willing to use the military to accomplish the U.S. takeover of the Gaza Strip, he doubled down on that, said we will do what's necessary. We'll do what's necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over the peace, and we're going to develop it. He referred to the Gaza Strip as the Riviera of the Middle East. He said that world people will live in Gaza, including Palestinians and anyone else, I suppose, that wants to live in this new real estate development he proposed today.
That is a minute plus of Joy Reid just sounding like a reporter.
Talk about a bombshell.
I can't think of the last time I heard it. It's like she didn't know how to handle it because while I don't think it's likely to happen, the whole idea is to promote peace and prosperity. And even if you're Joy Reid and you hate Donald Trump and you hate his supporters, I mean, she's the one who said, don't go to Thanksgiving dinner with people who vote for Trump. You look at this idea and you say, yeah, it's out there. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. But how can you knock it, right? Especially when he's saying Palestinians can live there in peace. You get a buyout, you get a buyout, and you get a buyout. The CIA has offered buyouts to the entire workforce in what officials said is a bid to bring the agency more in line with the president's priorities, including targeting drug cartels. So yesterday, the CIA appeared to be the first intelligence agency to tell its employees that they can quit their jobs and receive about 8 months of pay and benefits as the president pushes to downsize the federal government. Now, we knew that last week this was offered up to many government employees. There's 2 million federal workers in the country. And the goal for this administration is to get about 5 to 10% to accept the buyout offer, which would pay them and cover them for about 8 months. That's a pretty good severance package. You're not going to find many like that. So they're incentivizing them. But so far, it hasn't worked out. And the deadline is tomorrow, Thursday, February 6th. That's the deadline to accept the offer for the 8-month severance package from the government. Now, I'm not surprised. I don't know if you are, but I guess the Trump administration thought they would get more people. At this point, they've only had about 20,000 workers out of 2 million take the buyout offer. What else are most government employees going to do that's better than what they've got? Unless you were like approaching retirement and you're in the last year or two anyway, you say, you know what? Sure, I'll take it. I was going to retire anyway, maybe in a year. You want to pay me 8 months to not work? I'll go travel. I'll go do my thing. Like, for that person, I get it. It's probably appealing and makes sense. But if you've got a cushy government gig and the federal government says, yeah, sure, we'll pay you for 8 months, but then you got to go find another job. For a lot of these folks, they're not going to find a better gig. And I don't just mean pay-wise, but especially if they're in Washington, D.C., where you make more money than you do in other parts of the country. Where else are you going to go? You got great benefits. You got pretty, let's be honest, generous time off. Yes, you got to go back to the office. That's one thing the administration is saying. But outside of that, most people are like, okay, fine, I'll go back to the office, but I'm going to keep this job because they also probably think they'll outlast Donald Trump. He's only going to be there for 4 years, and then they hope things go back to the way they were, John.
I can show people how to do it, Pete.
Thank you, Bernie. I appreciate that.
We can offer some courses online.
Yeah, Bernie's trying to get the federal workforce to 4 million. He wants to double it as quickly as he can.
Getting kicked out of the commune ain't easy, Pete,
no,
but I did it.
Thank you, Bernie.
2 easy steps.
2 easy. Oh, my goodness.
One involves hygiene.
Yeah. You got to bathe, Bernie. You got to bathe, brother. All right? Get in the shower once a week. Comb your hair, Bernie Sanders. I know there's not much left, but you got to get a comb over going, buddy, okay? Oh, my goodness. So the CIA is now being offered the big old buyout. And to that, I say, please, may I have another? I welcome it. I want it. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as the administration thought it was going to be. They thought that they would get tens of thousands of people to say, yeah, sure, you know what, we'll go home. You don't realize how good these gigs are. Trust me, I know people that work for the federal government, and I'm not saying this out of disrespect. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying this to be rude, to be obnoxious. We've got a lot of government employees here in Kansas City. There's a large contingent of federal employees in the Kansas City area. And I know many of you listen. If you want to call in anonymously, you can at 913-408-7957. I'm not attacking you or your job. But what I am saying, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know and I know, there is a massive amount of bloat in these federal bureaucracies. And I'm sorry, but we're $1.8 trillion. Well, we're $36 trillion in debt. We're running a $1.8 trillion deficit. It's not sustainable. What do private businesses do when they're having tough years? They have to make moves. They have to lay people off. It's not a threat to democracy. It's called running a business. You try to do just as much as you did with less. I've been part of that. I've seen it firsthand. Unfortunately, I've seen it here, not at KCMO, but, at the parent company. It happens. It's called real life. It's called real decisions made by real companies that have to make money and meet shareholder expectations and, run, in our case, a publicly traded operation. That's how it works. And guess what? If I don't like it, I don't have to be here. That's the way Realville works. In made-up land of government, if, God forbid, you try to cut anything, if you try to cut the K-cups, whoa, we know. What, do you try to kill us here? No, we just got to make budget, That's how it works.
There hasn't been candy at the front desk all year since the start of the new year.
Man, I know, Mark.
It's hurting me.
You're on the verge of quitting, aren't you?
Well, I got to stay away from that stuff with my teeth.
Yeah, that's true. No, Mark's got a missing tooth in the back left corner of his mouth, so probably for the best we don't have the candy out anymore, Mark. I told the bosses to do that just for you. I don't need you losing more teeth on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Toothless Mark. Instead of Producer Mark, we'll call him Toothless Mark here on KCMO Talk Radio. He's been Mark the Overseer. He's been Producer Mark. Now he's going to be Toothless Mark.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's you getting that thing replaced, you're just going to have a hole in your mouth for the next couple years.
I'm fine for now. Maybe when I get older.
Maybe when I get older, he says. He might put some teeth back in his mouth. I
might need dentures later. I'll save it for later.
Get you
a few 20 years, hopefully.
Get you a nice set of veneers, okay? We'll take care of you. We'll get you a nice endorsement from some dentist who will give you a full set of veneers in that mouth ears. But that's how things work. That's how it goes. That's how it needs to happen at the federal government. It's like if you're sitting there with your wife and you're looking over the bills at the end of the month and you're paying off the credit card, and the credit card, is coming in at a higher number than what your income is, which is basically what our federal government is doing right now, running a $1.8 trillion deficit. And you say to your wife, or maybe she says to you, maybe you're the big spender. Hey, honey, no more going out with the boys. We got to rein it in. You can't be golfing every Saturday. We don't have the money right now. And you say to her, you're a threat to democracy. No, I'm trying to balance our budget, you bozo. And if she said that to you, she'd have every right to say that to you. Those are the decisions that you and I make every single day in our households. And for decades, under Republicans and Democrats, all right, no one's cared about this. No one. And it's both parties to blame. Republicans like to pretend they care about deficits when there's a Democrat in office. But amazingly, when there's a Republican in office, they don't seem to care a whole lot about these deficits and our $36 trillion in debt. They pretend to care about it when Democrats are in the White House. Well, Trump is saying we're going to do something about this, and we are going to make sure that we do it, and we do it as efficiently and effectively as possible. That's what's happening right now. On the text line, Pete, my sister works for the government, and although most people are calling it a buyout, that's not how it's been interpreted in the office. All the employees have asked questions, and Trump's office has zero follow-up. They have been told to stop asking questions. Well, so you're saying on the text line that they don't understand what's being offered here? I mean, I'd be curious if anyone's taking it in the Kansas City area. If the buyout's been offered, I'd like to know what that looks like. And maybe you can't talk about it, so just text it in. If you feel like you can't put yourself on the air, that's fine. But I'm just looking for clarity if that offer is on the table for federal employees in the Kansas City area, and we have a bunch of them. 913-408-7957 is the studio line, and the text line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Coming up, we'll get to the 6 at 6, the top 6 stories to keep an eye on here in the 6 o'clock hour on 95.7 FM KCMO and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Well, we have obviously had two notable plane crashes that we have covered in the last week. And the one, of course, the big one was the one coming from Wichita that crashed with the Black Hawk helicopter, which came 1 week ago tonight. Can you believe it? And then on Friday, you had that small Learjet that was traveling out this way and ended up going down in Philadelphia. I mean, right in the middle of the street. And that one, I mean, tragically killed 7 people, but was not a massive airliner, thankfully, and did result in a couple other dozen folks getting injured in that crash. And that one obviously has not gotten nearly as much attention. You understand why. And we'll update you on where that's at here coming up in a minute. NTSB has been on it. They've concluded their work at that site. But this story out of Philadelphia is just, if you are a parent, if you're a grandparent, this story will, I mean, the kid's alive, but it will still break your heart listening to this story from this family. This father was down in the downtown Philadelphia area when the jet crashed down near their vehicle. He had brought his 3 children, 10, 7, and 4, out to get donuts on Friday. And what happened is they were in their vehicle when the plane crashes, and the father yells in the back seat to his 10-year-old son to protect his sister. So he protects his sister. He covers up his sister in the vehicle. And then it turns out he's got shrapnel, like, coming out of his head. So the father is using socks and clothing to try to stop the bleeding. A cop shows up and rushes their son to the hospital. Trey Trey Howard is his name. He's injured with all this flying debris that happened in the wake of this plane crash on Friday. And on Friday night, they're not sure if he's going to make it. Well, he does end up making it. And here's part of the story from ABC 7 in Philadelphia.
Sound like a missile was firing bullets, metal at my car, everyone else's car.
Andre immediately backed up his car while his son Trey covered his little sister, protecting her.
I turn around, he has metal outside of his head.
A police officer rushed them to the hospital where he had emergency brain surgery.
What were you told Friday?
That it was a strong chance he might not survive.
Miraculously, he's now awake and recovering, even talking.
He says thank you to everybody. He cries, Daddy, I'm a celebrity. No, you're bigger than a celebrity. You're a superhero.
A little superhero that has been through so much in the last few days. To lift his spirits, one of his favorite NBA players, the 76ers, Tyrese Maxey, visited him in the hospital. Trey's family says they are so grateful for everyone's support, but most importantly, to still have their little boy.
And one of the first things that 10-year-old Trey said to his father when he woke up, he said, Daddy, did I save my sister? I mean, what a heroic kid that Andre has there. That's an amazing story. And on top of that, his next question, what day is today? Did I miss the Super Bowl? That's how do you not root for a kid like this? He got visited by his favorite NBA player with the 76ers. You got to appreciate that. And he's a diehard Eagles fan. Listen, we're all in on the Chiefs on Sunday. I can't stand to see the Eagles win anything. As somebody who used to sit in my dorm room at Villanova and would hear Eagles fans being the biggest bozos every time they would win and would secretly cheer when they would lose because I was surrounded by Eagles fans. They are largely, and I speak largely, a brutal fan base to deal with. Everything Philadelphia is. But on the outside chance the Chiefs do not three-peat, I will be thinking about this 10-year-old boy. I'll be thinking about Trey Howard. And hopefully, if things don't go our way on Sunday, at least we can think about 10-year-old Trey Howard, who saved his little sister during that tragic plane crash when he was going to get donuts with his dad on Friday night. And I love the line where he woke up and he said to his dad, you're a celebrity. And his dad says to him, no, you're a superhero. What a great line to share with your kid, because celebrity is meaningless, right? How many people are celebrities and are famous for no reason whatsoever? Being a superhero, there are superheroes every day in Kansas City that we don't know about. Cops, firefighters, EMS. I mean, there's plenty of them right now out on the streets, helping people navigate these icy roads that we're dealing with this morning that have resulted in multiple crashes around the metro. A superhero may not be famous, but is incredibly important and is saving lives. A celebrity? What's that mean in 2025? You got a lot of Instagram followers? Congratulations. And that's one of those lines that I think we can all take to heart, that young boy certainly can teach all of us. He's a superhero, and I admit we may not remember the name Trey Howard in a couple of weeks, certainly not a couple of months or a couple of years. But there is a big difference between being a superhero and being a celebrity. And I'm glad his father taught him the difference after he saved his sister's life and thankfully is living to see his sister's life be saved by him, because it wasn't clear on Friday that was going to be the case. This is something that you have got to take a listen to. It's just too good to not play. So there was a rally yesterday. Chuck Schumer did this rally. Maxine Waters, some of the diehard Democrats did a little rally in Washington, D.C., and boy, it was a doozy. And my favorite part of the rally, and it was really an anti-Elon Musk rally, I love this whole, billionaires can't be involved with the administration, says the people of the party who have been controlled by George Soros for how long now? But anyway, here was Chuck Schumer trying to start a chant with Maxine Waters yesterday. And this is right now the party in a nutshell. What a bunch of dorks.
And we cannot allow Elon Musk and a small group of people to secretly, behind closed doors, take away our privacy, take away our dollars, take away everything we have. We are going to fight this fight. I am going to stand with you in this fight, and we will win. 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 We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Oh, my gosh. There's something comical to me.
We need depends. We need depends.
About watching two geriatric members of Congress chanting, "We won't rest," like it's like nap time at the nursing home, you know? We won't rest. We won't rest.
We are aroused.
We are aroused.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Thank you, Chuck. We are aroused. We hate Elon. Elon arouses me. We won't rest. We won't rest. Is that available on Spotify, that little tune that they had going there?
Coming soon.
Coming soon to a Spotify playlist near you. Chuck Schumer. We won't rest. We won't rest. My goodness. You wonder why the party right now has a favorability rating that is 26 points underwater. It's just dorky. I mean, who's your face? No one's seen Obama since the election. The guy showed up for Jimmy Carter's funeral. He showed up for the inauguration. He chuckled at things Trump was saying to him at Carter's funeral. That's kind of all that came out of that. No one's seen Michelle Obama in months, right? I mean, literally, who's the face of your party? Chuck Schumer chanting, "We won't rest," with 80-something-year-old Maxine Waters looking like a bunch of crazy people who broke out of the nursing home? I mean, I know Trump's not a spring chicken, but watch this guy who's got a cultural renaissance going on around him. Guy's got people doing dances after him. I mean, the freaking YMCA is back in the mix as a top song in the country because of this guy. He's dancing on stage. He's swinging swords on stage, literally swinging swords on stage in some of these inauguration parties. If you missed that video, go back and check it out. And then you got Chuck Schumer, who can't grill a burger to save his life, talking about Coronas at the Super Bowl party.
And your guac.
Yeah, and your guac, doing these awkward chants with Maxine Waters. I mean, my gosh. And then the numbers come out over the weekend, and it was a legitimate poll done by Quinnipiac that showed there's a 57% unfavorable view of the Democratic Party across America today, 31% favorable. That's 26 points underwater. They need a total rebrand and a total refresh. And stuff like this is just, it's not moving the needle. You think having freeways shut down in L.A., talking about Trump, deporting people who are here illegally is going to bring the average American back into your party after the last 4 years? Chuck Schumer doing some corny chant with Maxine Waters is going to be the thing that changes the equation for you? What planet are you living on? They have got to hit the reset button, and they've got to do it as soon as possible for their own sake. I don't want to give them any free ideas here, but my goodness, this is a no-brainer. And the sooner they can figure it out, I mean, the better off they're going to be. It's brutal to watch this thing unfold right now. But it's also very funny from afar. I do get a kick out of it because we have certainly turned things around from where they were just a few years ago. And think about like 2008, right? Obama. I mean, that was by far the cool party. John McCain, kind of like, old little white guy. Then you had Obama, the cool guy. Man, it's not even 20 years and it's a total about face.
Yeah, even before that with Clinton and TV and the whole playing the sax and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think Joe Biden's first gig should be now that he is signed with CAA? No, I'm not kidding. Joe Biden has a talent agency.
Come on, man.
Yes. He's got a big-time Los Angeles talent agency representing him, CAA. This is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, talent agency in Los Angeles, and now they're representing this guy.
I think I know what it must be.
What are you thinking?
Pudding? Maybe ice cream cone?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a Depends commercial. I mean, anything works. But my gosh, I kid you not. They said, CAA, Creative Artists Agency, said in an Instagram post that they represented Biden in 2017 through 2020 following his time as the VP. And now they are back in the saddle. They represent Meryl Streep. They represent Martha Stewart. They represent Japanese baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani. And now they also represent Joe freaking Biden.
Boom, boom, boom.
What are you possibly going to hire the guy to do? I kind of got it after 2017. He still had his marbles. He was Obama's VP. Obama was a historic figure. He was generally, while people were done with him at the end, generally well received, especially, in corporate boardrooms and in that elite leftist world. Joe Biden now, his legacy is allowing Donald Trump to return and return stronger than he ever would have been during a second term in office. That's one of the things that I think history will share with us and will tell us here as time goes on. We're already seeing it in real time. Donald Trump coming back in 2024 is making him a much stronger two-term president than he ever could have been as a lame duck from 2020 to 24. Listen, if Trump won in 2020, he would have had a Democrat House. He would have had a Democrat Senate. He would have got nothing done. It would have been a lot of noise, a lot of tweets, and there just wouldn't have been a lot of stuff that happened. He would have had all the old guys and gals around him from the first term. Now he's upgraded. He's upgraded basically every step of the way in his cabinet, in his VP, and I respect Mike Pence, but J.D. Vance is a much better VP because there's a future there. I mean, he's picking his successor, basically, in J.D. Vance. Mike Pence was never going to be that guy. And he's got a team around him that is shaking up more in 3 weeks than he would have shaken up in 3 years in his second term. And he's got a Republican House and he's got a Republican Senate, which he never would have had during that second term. And people lived through a term of Joe Biden. They lived through the most progressive administration in modern American history, possibly ever. And they said, we don't like it. And they went back to the guy who they tried to throw in prison to right the wrongs. That's Joe Biden's legacy. That's it. If you're being honest about what Biden's legacy is, that's his legacy. Getting Donald Trump back to having more power and more popularity, I'll add, than he ever had during his first 4 years in office. Who's going to want to hear from this guy? Like, what is CAA going to do with him? Unless they are looking to air him in a Depends or a ice cream commercial, what possibly is Joe Biden going to do in the world of Hollywood? Unless it's just speaking engagements. But even then, I mean, if you're a major Fortune 500 company, you really want to have Joe Biden giving you a speech and slurring his way through it, John? I don't.
I've got a great idea. Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, that could work.
I'm going to have Joe come in. Wear the sunglasses.
That could
About
work.
the best thing they got, right?
As good as anything. My goodness. Now, Trump was asked about Biden signing with CAA yesterday, and in classic Trump fashion, here's what he said.
Think about Joe Biden signing on with a talent agency.
You got to be kidding. He signed on with a talent agency?
He does. He's got some entertainment agents now.
I think he's got bigger problems than that. I really do. I think he's got much bigger problems than that, but I wish him well. We inherited a mess. This place is a mess, but it's quickly being solved, the problem. We're going to make America great again. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
You got to be kidding me. You got it. You got it. You got to see the look on his face as well. And the brilliance of Trump there as an entertainer is he knew that was a perfect way to end that Q&A and that press conference. He just dropped the mic. I think he's got bigger problems. All right, everybody, talk to you later.
I can envision Trump, he gets on the roll, and then when something catches his attention, he kind of stops, right?
Yeah.
Turns his head and looks like it goes into a real serious mode.
He goes, you got to be kidding me. The only thing I can keep thinking to myself is the guy's entire presidency was one big Hollywood production, so this does feel kind of fitting.